Our lesson today is titled Small Everyday Lynchings. Every one of you is familiar with the story of the martyrdom of St. Stephen. It is simple. It is simple how it happened. The doctors of the law could not tolerate the clarity of Stephen's doctrine, and as soon as it was proclaimed, they went out to ask the people who declared that they had heard it, and that they were so overwhelmed by his interpretations, his simple clarity of statement, his quiet spiritual communion, and his glow of purity. He literally glowed with angelic purity and grace. And this is what caused the church elders, those with their trains and those with pay, and the various doctors of law, to shout out, "Crucify him!" Hey, it had just worked that time recently, hadn't it? Why not try it again? And then the breaking of commandments. They bore false witness against Stephen by the same who bore false witness against Jesus, and with the same result. They were not believed because their statements were far too pat, too incredible for the likes of human nature. In other words, he did A, then he did B, then he did C, and then he did D, versus he did R, then he did D, then he did P, twice he did A, and then he did M. That's more human nature. The same is true of these false show trials. The declarations of the false witnesses. He blasphemed against God and the law. He's found guilty. Jumped on him by the crowd of paid witnesses and killed by stoning. Identical to that done to Christ. Acting like beasts slavering for meat was the near attempt of Susanna in the Monday of Holy Week. Then they did the same with the trial of Naboth in 1 Kings. Amon tried to do the same thing with the people of God. Use of fake news. Oh, there's a phrase. Calumny, false witness, and anything that agitates the people who then demand justice. It is lynching. Pure and simple lynching. And so they take him to the judge, so a judge can give legal form to this judgment. But he has already been adjudged. And this judge on the bench would have to be very, very courageous to go against such a popular judgment, which was made on purpose, already prepared for his signature. Such was the case of Pilate. Pontius Pilate saw clearly that Jesus was innocent, but he saw the people, and he washed his hands of him. It is the way of applying the law so that the judge can live. We see this today, too. Even today it happens in some countries when they want to perform a coup d'etat or get rid of a politician so that they do not go to election. They do this. Fake news, false witness, calumny, and then take us to the judge with a prepared judgment and sentence ready for judge signature. This requires a practice of the law with this situationalist positivism, which is in vogue, and it leads to a condemnation. It is a social lynching. And this is what was done to Stephen. This is how justice was done for Stephen. They bring to justice a person already adjudged by the people who were paid to be deceived. This too happens today, to the martyrs of today. Judges do not have the possibility of bringing justice to those who have already been adjudged by the crowd, ready to tear them apart. Let us think of Asia Bibi, for example. whom we have seen. 10 years in jail because she had been adjudged on the basis of calumny, and a people who clamoured for her death. Faced with this avalanche of fake news that formed all opinions, very often nothing can be done. Nothing can be done. In relation to this, I think a lot about the Shoah. The Shoah is a case in point. An opinion was created against an entire people, and then it became normal to say, well, yes, they must be killed. They must all be put to death. A way of proceeding in order to do away with a people who had become bothersome, who are disturbing to others. We all know that it is not good, but what we do not know is there are small, everyday lynchings that seek to condemn people, that create a bad reputation among the people, to discard and then condemn them. The small daily lynchings occur through gossip, creating an opinion, falsely. Very often we hear someone speak badly of someone else, and maybe another will say, no, that is a very good person. Then later, no, I heard that, but, and the third time, with that, well, I heard that, and thus an opinion is created out of whole cloth, where a neutral or positive one had existed, and the bad one is capable of finishing the person. The truth is something else entirely. The truth is testimony of what is true, the things a person believes. The truth is clear. It is transparent. The truth does not tolerate pressure. Look at St. Stephen, the martyr, the first martyr after Jesus, the first martyr. Think of the apostles. They all bore witness. And think of the many martyrs, even the ones who we have celebrated here today, the apostles Philip and James. False witness in the form of poorly repeated gossip and the misunderstood words of prayer being the foundation of the opinions that killed them both. Think of us, of our towns, of our workplaces, many as big as towns. Very often we, with all the comments, both by speaking and online, initiate a lynching of this very time. And in our Christian institutions, we have seen many everyday lynchings born out of gossip. May the Lord help us be just in our judgments, not to begin or not to follow this type of mass condemnation that gossip causes. May the Lord help each person now hearing or reading this lesson understand his or her place in the cycle of gossip, and with each work to, number 1, stop speaking of others when they are not present. Number 2, to spread bad news of another only when it is in their interest or esteem. For example, B is in the hospital again, but she or he is unlikely to survive without tons of prayers. I'm sponsoring a prayer night. May I count on you for help with getting the children 1st to 3rd grades to know and to understand? Because I know that you have those ages for Bible study. Can you help? Oh, thank you. And number 3, if I am to speak of another, I will do this test each time. The information I am to pass. A, how do I know it is the truth and fact? B, what is my purpose in speaking it? in spreading it. See, does this other person need to know? Or do I need to tell? Which is more pressure? If I need to tell more than they need to know, then I will say nothing. And may the Lord hold each of us in his hand as we make this determination. I will not lynch anyone on this day.